Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the town board work session and public meeting of February 28th. Can I have a motion to open? We're gonna mix things around a little bit just to keep you on your toes tonight. Can I have a motion to open the town board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. The reason we're doing that and going a little bit out of order from what's in the agenda is because we have a number of people here for a public hearing and we were running a little late and we don't wanna keep you all here for what is probably gonna be a quite lengthy work session. So we're gonna open the public hearing first, then we're gonna go back to the work session and then we're gonna come back to the town board meeting. So can I have a motion please to open the public hearing with regard to a local law regarding statewide exemption for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alright, perfect. Ed, you wanna take it away?
So this is a partial real property tax exemption that the town has had on the books since 2003, but last year the state amended the statute that allows municipalities to offer that exemption. And the town is required to align its local law with the new state law, and that's what the local law that is before you does. We mentioned some of the changes that and they're for the most part slight, but there's one important one, and this was something that the board discussed with the volunteers that came about a month ago, and that's to lower the eligibility from 5 years to 2. And the board heard from the volunteers that that was really gonna help in their efforts with recruitment. So that's in the local law, but for the most part, this is re-adopting what's already on the books.
Alright.
And Josh is here as well if anybody has any questions about the
Josh.
tax implications.
Josh, was there anything you wanted to add before we open it up for public comment?
Well, thank you for having me back to talk about it. I think that if the board were to pass this tonight, I think, I would be in touch with the chiefs straight away so that we can get those members that would qualify with the different parameters, so we can get them on the books for this 2023 tenant assessment.
Perfect, thank you. Alright. I guess we're gonna open it up to public comments now. Does anyone here in the audience have any public comments on this proposed local law? Come on up. If you can, for the record, just state your name and address.
Sure. Good evening, my name is Mark Hirschfield, I'm currently the captain of the Chappaqua Volunteer Ambulance Corps. Our address is 233 North Greeley Avenue, but hopefully you guys knew that already. So I want to speak in favor of this law. As we discussed a few weeks ago, we think this is an important change to help us attract and retain our members. COVID had a real, bad effect on us. People moved away, people stopped riding. And frankly, we're still in a rebuilding process trying to get back to where we were and get ahead of where we were in terms of having membership. So anything we can do as a town and a village to sort of help that along is appreciated and will go a long way towards helping us to help you all. So we think this is a really good provision and we would urge you guys to adopt it.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry for the glare. My name is Greg Santone, I'm with the Millwood Fire Department. Fire Department's 100 Millwood Road, Millwood, New York. Just to echo Mark's comments, we appreciate the town board support. You've always been very supportive of the volunteers and we really sincerely appreciate that. Volunteerism is on the decline. People have busy schedules. Our training requirements, mandated training requirements continue to increase. So anything we can do to encourage members to remain members, so this is both a recruitment and a retention tool, is very helpful to us. So I'd like to encourage the town board to move forward with this. We do appreciate it. It's one tool in the toolbox. We still have a lot of ground to cover and a lot of progress to make in recruiting and retaining members. But every piece of support helps quite a bit. Thank you so much, and thank you for moving the agenda around. Thank you so much. That was very helpful. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right, anyone else in the audience? Okay, is there anyone online who has a comment?
No hands are raised online.
No hands are raised. All right, going once, going twice. All right, well, I do wanna say that, you know, I've been sitting up here for what, close to 10 years already, and we have always been trying to find ways to help not only show our appreciation for our first responders, but also find ways to, you know, incentivize membership and retention, as you mentioned, Greg. So I think this is something that, and we've been pretty constrained by law as to what we've been allowed to do. So the fact that we do have an option here that can help, I certainly am fully in favor of this law. I don't know if anyone else has any comments, otherwise we're actually gonna move it to a vote.
Yeah, I would just say that we are so extremely grateful to volunteer first responders, and not only do you save the town a lot of money, but we are so thankful to have people who really care about our community. I mean, you do so much more than just the daily tasks at hand. We have people who really care about our community, so we're very grateful for that. And, you know, I'm certainly in favor of the law.
Yeah, I just wanna say thank you to all of you for volunteering and serving the community, and as a resident, I very much appreciate that you keep us safe. And as a town board member, I am glad to support this, even though it's a relatively small thing. I think it's the least we can do. As long as it's within our power, I am in support of it.
Ditto.
All right, so you know, generally after a public hearing, we don't vote right away, but this is one we haven't had anybody really opposed to this, and I know it's time sensitive as well, so we're actually gonna move to close the public hearing and then vote on this matter tonight. So can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, should we adopt the resolution now or just wait
We
later
can
on
do
to
it
the
now.
meeting?
Why don't you do it now so that they can hear it
Okay.
that way?
Can anyone read it? It's number 11.
Number 11. I'll read it. I move to adopt a local law amending chapter 122 of the Town of Newcastle Town Code concerning real property tax exemptions for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers to conform with the NYRPTL section 466-A as amended.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Okay. Well, you are all welcome to stay, but I'm sensing a mass exodus.
Thank
Why are they
Thank
so
you,
happy?
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And again, thank you for all you do.
Good night.
Good night. All right, so now do we need to adjourn the public hearing to open the work session? We do,
Public
right?
meeting, why
I
don't you
mean, the
do
public
that
meeting.
and open it?
All right, can I have a motion to adjourn the public town board meeting and open our work session?
Motion to adjourn public town meeting, motion, do we have to vote on that first?
No, we can just.
And then motion to open
Work
town,
session.
the work session.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, back to our work session. So the first thing on our agenda today is to talk about the New York State Housing Compact, which I know is an incredibly hot topic among all municipalities in New York State right now. So the town board has a couple of things, and I sent you all a proposed resolution the other day, and this is mirrored off of what other municipalities have at least here in northern Westchester have adopted, and I actually met with a number of supervisors today at lunch, and those who haven't adopted it, at least 5 today said they were planning to adopt this evening. I guess we all have meetings on Tuesdays. So what this essentially says, and I had it marked as draft because I wanted us all to discuss it, We usually have work sessions around a table, so it's kinda odd looking back and forth. But what this does say, and let me preface this with the fact that everything in the mayor's housing compact, I think, is a very laudable goal, in the governor's housing compact, is a very laudable goal. And I think the desire to create housing and the desire to create affordable housing is something we should all strive to do. That being said, my concern with it, and I know the concerns of many, is that because it's appearing in the budget and it's really a one-size-fits-all approach, it was mirrored after legislation in California. It's really something that I believe is supposed to be for New York City, but it's being promulgated throughout the state. And in my view, it should not be in the budgetary process because it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Every town has its own unique challenges that inform zoning. And each town needs to be able to figure out how best to meet those goals of increasing housing in general and affordable housing specifically, in a way that makes sense for that town in terms of, topography, parking, infrastructure, schools, everything else. So in my view, and what this resolution says is we're imploring the governor and the New York State legislature to remove those proposals from the budget and instead move it to the legislative process, where local municipalities and governments can then have a collaborative dialogue to figure out how best to incentivize municipalities and move municipalities toward being able to adopt appropriate zoning that really reflects each municipality's challenges and needs. And it also asked the legislator to please preserve and protect municipal home rule and local zoning powers, which is in the Constitution. And really, the reason it is because, again, each municipality knows best what works within their town. So just to reiterate, while we like the goals of this compact, I think the budget is the wrong place to put it. And what this resolution would do is just ask them to please remove it from the budget and move it to the legislative process. Then, before we talk about it, then I also sent you guys this open letter to Governor Hochul Ray, the Housing Compact. This was something that was drafted by the Westchester Municipal Officials Association and in consultation with the State Housing Division of Housing and Community Renewal. We spoke to Assemblyman Burdick, Senator Harckham, as this was being drafted. I believe this was sent to us yesterday to sign. We did sign it, as did, I believe, 41 of the 45 municipalities in Westchester here signed this document. I think it's very good. It says, similar to the resolution, that everything should be moved to the legislative process, and it also talks a little bit about the safe harbor, about that we should retain SECRA, that we should incentivize desired housing stock instead of mandating it from the top down. We should talk about expanding financial support for infrastructure. So right now, they're proposing $250 million throughout the state to make available for infrastructure changes to support significant zoning changes. I think we personally could use $250 million right now pretty easily for infrastructure changes. And so it's it's such a small bucket. In order to do that appropriately, I think you would need at least $5 billion to go throughout the state to help support infrastructure, street size, sewer, septic, we're under water treatment, we're under a gas moratorium, so how are you enhancing our grid, or how else you supplying power? So it does give examples of things that we think are appropriate to be discussed and considered in the legislative process as we look at this housing compact and try to approach these goals. So that being said, I wanna kind of open it up to discussion, both on the resolution, the letter can't be changed, it's something, you all know I signed it yesterday, but it's something that is coming from a large group that worked on this, and it was really municipalities could feel free to sign it or not, and we did all agree that we signed this yesterday, it went up to the governor today. But I would love to ratify that letter because I actually think it's great and has a lot of really concrete examples of things that need to be considered in the legislation as we figure out how to accomplish these goals. So I will open it up to the board to discuss.
Thank you, Lisa.
Are you on?
I don't think this is working.
There, now you're on.
Okay, I don't think I need a microphone, I have a pretty loud voice. Anyway, several residents have voiced their concerns to me about this proposed legislation and it's definitely on the top of residents' minds, at least the ones that I've interacted with. And I know that many local municipalities are also worried about this, and it's, in my opinion, just a pretty straightforward issue here is it's infrastructure. We can't just wave a magic wand and put up buildings without there being other collateral consequences to our hamlet. So we have to think about solving this problem in a thoughtful, collaborative way that works best for the community. Water treatment would be a big one, sewage would be a big one. I mean, we have to fix the sewers in Millwood as they are now, right? So I appreciate that we signed this open letter. There, I think you said 41 out of 45 supervisors and mayors in local municipalities had signed on to this letter. I think it would be important for us to pass the proposed resolution so our residents know that we're doing everything we can, we're thinking about it, we're working on it. That's kind of where my thought process is right now.
Okay, well, I'll just add my thoughts to this. First of all, I think we need to all keep in mind that the law has not been passed yet. So we really don't know what the outcome is going to be. It still has to go through the state senate and the state assembly negotiations, so we have yet to see what's really going to come out. But we're trying to make our voices heard in the
That's right.
process. So we know that housing is a very important issue. It would increase the vibrancy of our hamlets. We've all said this at one point or another. So we've all been working on this. We know that affordability is a concerning issue. It affects our workforce and our regional economy. But each municipality has unique features, as we've said before. For us, I do believe we all have to be rooted in reality in order to address these issues in a real and authentic way. So here we have infrastructure capacity issues. We have sewer and septic systems that are, very delicate. We don't have much of a sewer system. Our septic systems are, sometimes at the brink of failure. We have serious stormwater issues. I remember in 2005, we had a bell moving up ceremony and all the cars that were parked were pretty much totaled, a lot of them. So just to give an example. So we do have capacity issues here, and we need to take a look at what we can do about housing and increasing that for the vibrancy of our hamlets, which is something that we've all wanted to do, and work with the governor and what she's trying to propose, and it has to be a two-way street. I know that Jeremy spoke to Assemblyman Burdick, who is very much in favor of the letter that Lisa was describing and our resolutions. I'm not sure about our other state representatives, but I just have to say that it's very much a matter of collaboration. And I don't believe that the budget process lends itself to that collaborative exchange of information and facts. So I do agree that we need to remove this from the budget process, and that's essentially what the resolution is saying. I mean, we could talk about all of the details and whereas clauses of the resolution and the tone of it, but ultimately we're looking at the therefore clause, which is the ultimate ask of the resolution. And the letter is pretty much consistent with the resolution. So I think we're all saying pretty much the same things with, slight differences around the edges in terms of, where we stand in wanting to work with the governor. But I do believe that the process must be more collaborative in order to have realistic results and not have another round of ideology without much impact.
I also just wanna clarify, I don't know if we touched upon this, but Lisa, it's my understanding that there are multiple municipalities that have passed very similar, if not identical, resolutions tonight.
Yes.
So I can't say that I'm adamantly opposed to the housing compact. I have some serious concerns, but like Vicky said, there's our state legislators are right now negotiating, trying to influence changes and I'm not optimistic it's gonna come out, to be honest. And I think that this is going to come at some point, no matter what. Because frankly, if we had all been doing enough as municipalities, and I'm not singling out us, in fact, I think we've probably been trying. But if the municipalities have been doing enough to address housing, we wouldn't be in a place where the governor feels like she has to push this down. So again, I can't really say that I'm adamantly opposed to it, but the fact that it's in the budget means they wanna put some money with it. Obviously not enough, like you said, $250 million is almost laughable when it comes to infrastructure. But I understand why it's in the budget process, because I'd like to see them add incentives to really enable us to build housing the way that we want to. I'm extremely uncomfortable with any of the variations that take SECRA out completely. I think that is a non-starter. And the TOD legislation I do find concerning because it is such a blanket. So that said, I'm glad you signed the letter because I like the productive feedback that it included. I don't completely agree with the resolution, but I'm not sure that I wanna sit here and spend too much time arguing about it, because when it comes down to it, we need to be focusing on how we're adding housing. So something I'd like us to try to think about is maybe, is there a housing committee or a task force or some group that we could start to assemble so that we're thinking about how to process this in whatever form, whenever it comes for the future. So those are my thoughts.
Okay. I think Holly, to your point, I think what we were saying was none of us were really against the goals of that housing compact. It's just, again, because I agree that we need more housing and we need more affordable housing throughout the state generally. But my issue is that it's in the budget, and which has to be passed by April 30th. So that does not give much time to actually reach out to municipalities to figure out how best to make this work on a statewide basis. So my concern is more that it come out of the budget to allow us then the time to work it through the legislative process. So you even saw like last year with Senator Harkin's ADU legislation, which was legislation, and upon hearing from municipalities and realized there were things in there that weren't gonna work, he said, okay, let me go back to the drawing board. And now it's not out yet, but I've seen a preview of his legislation, and I think most municipalities actually can get behind his new proposed legislation. But we could only do that because it went through the legislative process. And it looked at different stakeholders and allowed us all to kind of collaborate and give our 2 cents as to what works in our municipalities, so that then when it's adopted, it's something that can work for all of us and actually hopefully incentivize ADUs to be built in municipalities. Like, we have that legislation on the books. There are some municipalities that don't, and actually I would encourage us to look at our ADU legislation again and see if perhaps it's too stringent, and just It hasn't been looked at in a very long time. So I would actually propose we look at it and see if there are things that need to be changed or just revisited in there. But we were able to get there because it was in the legislative process and not in a very quick budgetary process that came out in February and has to be approved in April.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, you know, the conversation was happening last year, I guess, to some degree I'm disappointed that it wasn't processed throughout last year so that it could be in the budget with funding for these incentives and infrastructure improvements
Agreed.
associated with it. So being what it is, it's not ideal that it's in the budget. I hope though that our representatives like Chris Burdick and Pete Harcum are making the concerns for us known, since they have a more direct line into the process. I mean, I shouldn't even say a more direct line, they're directly in the process right now with the budget.
They are, and I've actually spoken with Assemblyman Burdick and Senator Harcum as well as representatives from the governor's office as well to kind of express concerns as well.
I just don't want us to get so hung up on whether this resolution is right, whether the letter is right, but remember that we still have the goal and to make sure that we're still pushing forward on that and not spinning wheels on, you know, like I said, I'm not gonna argue about the wording in the resolution because again, I think the important thing is that we're thinking about how we're going to move forward, whether this is the end result that we have to handle or not.
Right.
I think it's, for me, municipalities, especially for me being on the temp board, especially in Newcastle, wanna make sure that we're being heard in Albany and wanna make sure that our representatives understand our concerns. And maybe it feels like because this is being rushed and being put through the budget process, we don't feel like that's happening. Like Vicky said, it has to be a two-way street. This has to be collaborative. And I think the concern is that it's not really that way right now. And our only recourse is to sign on to a letter with other municipalities, to pass a resolution, to really make our voices be heard and really make sure that the message is getting to Chris Burdick, to Representative Burdick and to Albany that, you know, we want this to work for everyone. We want to do this, but we don't want our hand forced because ultimately I feel very strongly that Newcastle knows what's best for Newcastle. Our residents know what's best for how we can best meet these goals. And that's why we're seeking to propose this resolution.
So I just wanna add that I would change some of the wording to the hereby resolved clause. I would say, what it says now at the end is now
The
therefore.
first one or the second?
The first therefore clause. That the town of Newcastle implores the governor and or the New York State Legislature to remove the housing compact proposal from the New York State fiscal year 2024 budget. And it says and future budgets. I would remove and future budgets because if it goes through the
Fine.
legislative process, it would have to go through a budget cycle. I remove that and continue after 2024 budget and instead utilize the legislative process. I would put that in because it's not giving an option for this to move forward. So I'd say, and instead utilize the legislative process and continue on the way it is and engage local municipal governments in dialogue to address our common goals. So that way we don't remove the avenue of putting it through the budget and we give it a path forward.
Yeah, I'm
To
good
the-
with those changes.
Okay.
Same.
Okay, great. I also think adopting this resolution, I think does two things. It first lets our residents know, and it does say the first whereas clause, the creation of additional housing, including affordable housing, is a laudable goal. So I think it lets our residents know this is the direction we're moving, but we don't think putting this in the budgetary process is correct, and it lets them know that we're kind of standing up for what's right in our community. It also gives our state representatives backup to say, hey, this is what Newcastle thinks, look, they passed a resolution, it's not just me talking to the board on the phone, it's they passed this resolution that I would say after we pass it, we would actually send it to everybody in in state government.
Can I maybe propose a change though in the first whereas?
Mhm.
Rather than just saying that it's a laudable goal, maybe we could say that it's a shared goal. Or somehow indicate that this is something that we, not that we just think it's a good
Mhm.
goal, but it's something that we are gonna be actively working towards anyways. I think that is more clear with our residents about how we feel about it.
That's okay, I like the word laudable though, can we say shared and
That's
laudable?
fine.
In what order?
Do shared and
And one other thought, the very last result, be it further resolved. Something makes me uncomfortable about adamantly opposes the governor's housing compact, because I don't know that that's exactly reflective of what we've just said. We're saying we don't like the process that it's going through, not that in and of itself a housing compact is a problem. I don't know if there's a way that we can easily reword that to just
Aspects of.
So I actually think the housing compact is a problem. I think the goals of the housing compact are not a problem. I think by taking a top-down approach and making this uniform throughout the state instead of and basically eviscerating home rule and local zoning powers, I think that is the problem. I think the goals of the housing compact, again, are shared goals.
Can I say, I think that the last resolve is problematic because we actually don't know what the housing compact will be.
But we know what she's proposed.
We know what the proposal is exactly, but we're saying, we're referring to the housing compact, which doesn't actually exist yet. And what we have said is that we want it removed from the budget process. We want it in the legislative process and we want a collaborative approach.
But if it stays in
We
the
don't
budget process,
know.
it's gonna pass.
We also wanna protect municipal home rule and local zoning powers.
Well, we wanna, right, I mean municipalities understand what their constraints are and what their, what their communities have to deal with regarding all kinds of infrastructure. But I think it is problematic to say that we either oppose or we're in favor of something that doesn't exist yet, where we don't really have the full outlines. The governor could come out at the end of this budget process and say that there is no TOD legislation, that it would be an incentive. I mean, we just don't know. They could put SEQRA back into the process.
Well,
say
look,
as
you-
proposed in the
I
draft
just
budget.
You
don't
can say the governor's
Okay,
proposed
yeah.
housing
I think, yeah,
compact, but
I think that as
again,
proposed.
you can only resolve something as of the date you resolve it. If things change, it doesn't mean that the resolution you pass today is necessarily gonna be the same as our opinion 5 months from now.
Right.
We
For
may
historical-
agree to something, but we can say the governor's proposed housing compact.
Adamantly opposes
Right, I mean, there
the
actually is no
proposed-
housing compact.
The governor's
Well, there is,
proposed.
that's her proposal.
It's a
Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
So-
it hasn't passed.
Well, I defined it as housing compact up here, it's a defined term. Governor Hochul's fiscal year 2024 executive budget included the New York Housing Compact, and it consists of, and this is all of it, so it's a defined term in this resolution.
Well, it's a housing compact that has not passed.
What if we said draft legislation in its current form?
That's fine.
I'm
Yeah.
comfortable with that.
The
The governor's draft legislation in its current form.
Yeah, draft is what it is.
Are you gonna just, and that will be the definition of housing compact? That's how I would do that. Put it in the first whereas clause.
Yeah, just define it accurately, that's all.
Alright, does anyone else have any more thoughts on this?
But I would like soon in the future to talk about the direction that we're gonna be taking to address housing regardless. I know that we've talked a little bit about the train station, but and we're looking at 50 North Greeley, but it's narrow and I'd like to broaden the conversation.
I agree, but I think that conversation is also gonna be shaped by what eventually comes down from Albany.
But But again, I mean, I'd love to see a committee or something formed, maybe in the meantime, to be ready to process these things with us. Food for thought.
Agree. The reason why I'm hesitant is because I don't know, you know, the only reason really that I understand so much of this legislation is because I've been speaking about it with people from Albany and other municipal officials, so I don't know that I wanna put the burden on our residents to be able to understand this. That's why I had, you know, one of the reasons I asked Chris Burdick to come and speak to the board and Pete Harcum to speak to the board and Vidat Gashi to speak to the board, because I wanted to get their views on the legislation as well. So while I agree a committee to study housing is not a bad idea, I wouldn't want them to also be tasked with interpreting the legislation.
No, but by no means meant to imply that. Just rather than waiting to see where this all ends up, I'd like us to just be proactive in being ready and figuring out how we are going to approach it, instead of just the one-off type situations.
I think, Holly, maybe what you're saying, maybe I'm misunderstanding, but I think that you know, my view of this is that it's important for us to have our own vision, regardless of what the governor is saying, whether we agree with it or we don't agree with it. I think it's very important for us to have a starting point for ourselves about what our vision is for what we wanna see in our hamlets.
Yes, I think
You
you're
know, you and
understanding.
I, Lisa, have talked about wanting vibrant hamlets, wanting, you know, multifamily housing, wanting mixed-use developments, we've talked about that. But we haven't developed a real vision for that. I know that we have our public lands, you know, North Greeley was a great opportunity to do that. We didn't do that, and you know, we have a proposal for it, so now we're looking at things in a piecemeal way. And we could talk about North Greeley another time, it's not on the agenda now, but I'm just afraid that it's just no longer a balanced view for development. So I think that what Holly is alluding to is, you know, having a holistic vision so that we can actually plan. Because sort of waiting to get proposals from property owners and developers is not a way to really plan something in a way that's appropriate for a hamlet, in a way that's sustainable, and that can be a little bit more even keeled towards you know, the entire
Be a
area.
little bit less
So,
reactive,
yeah.
And kind of figure out how we're gonna do that.
Yeah, well, we are, as you know, interviewing firms to do a charrette and a public outreach process on town-owned land. And the community did speak out very strongly against a form-based code, which is why
Yeah,
we're not
we are
there.
absolutely not going there again.
So I think it's something we should be looking at, you know, we sort of went there a little bit with mandating 10% affordability requirement in the downtown. Again, we can't mandate that private property owners do something with their property. We can never mandate that, and the housing compact can't even mandate that. It can mandate that we change zoning, but not that we require somebody to do that with their property. But I do think it's a conversation that's worth having.
I mean, if we don't get these goals that, you know, the governor's proposing some targets, so I mean, if this all comes out and these don't exist, what are our goals and how are we gonna enable it?
Yeah.
I don't wanna wait another year to continue the conversation.
Well, and don't forget, you know, if this is passed, we will have 3 years generally to do any of this, at least initially. So you know, it's not gonna happen instantaneously, but I do think it's a conversation that we've been having. I didn't know that we necessarily needed a committee on it. I think it's gonna be hard. I'm a little concerned. You're gonna get a lot of passionate voices, and I'm not sure that a committee is going to be productive. I think the reason why all of us up here were elected is to make some of those decisions with the input from the community.
Well, we want public engagement,
We
basically.
do want public engagement. I don't know that a committee is gonna be
I'm not
very
wedded,
productive.
I'm not wedded to that, I'm just, again, it's just, I want to see us taking steps proactively, not reactive.
And even though it is private property in some places, it is our job to zone and to rezone areas, so the engagement would be regarding that. You know, it is a town function to do for the community.
Right,
And,
but we're not
you
gonna
know, right.
rezone wholesale until we find out what
No,
what our
that's not,
mandate is anyway.
that's not really the point. We don't want a wholesale rezoning, I'm not even sure what that means.
Well, the housing compact would mandate it if.
Right, but we're talking about what we would do, not what the housing compact.
And I didn't mean to take us on to a topic that's kind of,
It's a big-
that's
No,
off
it's a work
topic,
session, it's.
but I just don't wanna lose sight of what, you know, while we're looking at this, that, you know, we still have, you know, the job to do, which is make sure that either we are reacting to this if it passes, or making sure that we're taking the steps that
Right.
we've been entrusted with to set goals and enable it for the town.
Okay. Alright, so I would propose, and we're not gonna do it right now, 'cause it's a work session, but that with those few changes, we adopt this resolution tonight.
I've got the changes.
Okay, perfect. Alright, but we're not gonna do that right now, hold that for resolution.
Continue with the work session.
Alright,
Why don't we move to our Rec and Parks Commission recommendation, we've got people online.
Ah,
we have
perfect.
people here,
alright, so we are gonna move to the Recreation and Parks Commission recommendations to rename Upper Getty Field. Yay.
Christine, are you
There
here?
used to be an affordable housing committee for 30 years ago. Oh, you were on point.
Yep, hi, Ike is here as well.
Yep, hi Ike. Hi Christine. Ike,
Hello.
we can't hear you. We can't
It's
hear
okay
you,
to
Ike.
hear you.
They'll have to mime it all.
You guys can't hear her.
No,
I could
we
hear
can't hear
Christine.
Ike. Ike's, something's wrong with his
Yeah, I think it's on
microphone.
his end.
Not in the work session, thanks.
But there will be later during
In the
meeting,
public
yeah.
meetings, there will.
Hey Ike, just try exiting and coming back in.
Maybe it's his headphones.
Yeah, it might be your headphones. No,
Unplug them.
Yeah, if you guys could just instruct him to exit and come back in, he might need.
yeah, Ike,
just
if
troubleshoot.
you, we've been told if you log out and try to log back into the Zoom, it might reset it. Okay, got a thumbs up.
See ya, Ike. Have a nice day.
Alright, so maybe while we're waiting for Ike to log back in, can we quickly talk about the Quaker Street water main sewer trunk line questionnaire?
Sure, so EDR, who is the county's consultant, has approached the town, in addition to the sewer trunk extension that's going from Hunts Place up to the southernmost entrance of the Wagon Road Camp. The town is proposing a piggyback project of replacing a water main to try to minimize the disruption to those residents who live along that section of 120 and also try to save some costs. You're sharing.
Can you hear me now?
Yay! Where are you though?
Alright.
Oh, there you are.
Go
Okay, let's,
Sorry
okay,
about
we're
that.
gonna go back to Ike here. Alright,
All sorts of technical issues tonight, so I apologize. Tried joining earlier from the rank down there running my son's hockey practice earlier, so. Christine, thank you for holding down the fort until we get here.
alright, so do you wanna, talk about renaming Upper Getty Field?
Yes, we had a group come to us, led by H. Schreiber, who used to be the head of Chapel Lake Soccer Club. He approached the rec commission last year about renaming Upper Getty Field in honor of Casey Towle, to Casey Towle Field. It wasn't a hard sell, that's for sure. The commission was completely on board with it. And that's why they wanted to make the recommendation to the town board to give your approval as well. And if all goes well, they're tentatively scheduling a schedule a ceremony at the end of March to formally dedicate the field, if all goes well tonight.
So for those of you who may not know, so Casey Tao was one of our younger residents, a big soccer player, and unfortunately he passed away in high school. from brain cancer. And his family is very involved in both raising money for brain cancer and also very involved in the soccer programs in our town, including at the high school and also our youth soccer programs. I really think it would be a very nice show of support for our town, and certainly they've been very, very involved and always giving of time. So this is something I actually would love to do. I'm definitely in support of this. And I'm glad to hear the rec commission is as well, but I'm happy to hear any other thoughts on this.
Yeah, I'm very much in support of it, and I'm really very grateful to the Taub family for everything they've done for our community and the youth of our community and athletics. They've certainly given so much of themselves and their time, and so we're very appreciative, and I think this is the least we can do to recognize them and their family and Casey.
I agree, and I also just wanna thank Ike and everybody in Parks and Rec for making this happen.
I just have like two questions. I mean, I totally support this, but which one is the upper field?
So it's kind of the only soccer field at Gedney, but you can explain it.
Yeah, so we call it Upper Gedney because it's kind of on the hill at Gedney Park, but if you go to the back of the facility where the baseball fields are, there is a roadway that kind of hangs off to the right there before you get to the first baseball field. And that'll take you up to the soccer field there at the back of Gedney.
And this is something that is under our purview and not
Yes.
Parks and Rec to do without us?
We have to vote in favor of it.
It's a town field.
Okay, I was just curious. I'm appreciative for all of their support of town and soccer, and it's a tragic loss, so I think it's nice to recognize Casey.
I do too. And my son personally played soccer, and Jonathan was a big part of that soccer program. So I would love to do this. Is there anyone opposed? All right, any other thoughts? There's no, actually I do have a question. So what would we do to name it? Are we gonna have a plaque? what's that gonna look like?
Yeah, so we're going to, the group that approached us and the rec commission, they are doing some fundraising for signage at the field. So there will be a sign similar to what we have at the front of each of our parks. So we're St. Park or Smith Park, both signs we have at the front. There'll be a similar looking sign up by the soccer field now that will say Casey Taub Field. And they're also going to create a small plaque that will be by the entrance to the soccer field itself. I think just a quick background of Casey and why the field is named after him. Again, something they're going to send to us for approval and that they're going to fundraise for. So I think it'll look good. It'll be great once it happens.
All right, great, thank you.
Yeah, and just so everybody's aware now, because I was confident that everybody would be on board with us, so I appreciate that. Thank you to all the town board. We're looking at, it hasn't been advertised yet, but we're looking at March 31st at 4 o'clock, I believe it's a Friday, at the field to do a nice little ribbon cutting and formal dedication. So you're all invited.
Okay, that's soon. While we have you here,
Yes.
given that tomorrow's March 1st and it snowed, how delayed is our stairs and retaining wall work at the baseball fields?
Tell 'em, Mike, tell 'em.
It's not. They're actually gonna start tomorrow, loading in. So they'll start staging tomorrow. We cleared out park staff cleared out most of the area today with the snow. They're gonna hit in the morning before the contractor gets there to clear some more space in the parking lot. But they will start loading tomorrow, with equipment in place, so.
Alright, that's
yeah,
good
no
news.
delay, no delay yet,
Okay, good.
yep,
I like that.
so we're excited, can't wait to get it going.
Perfect. Alright, I think that's all we need you guys for. Alright, well, thank you.
All right, perfect.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you so much, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Bye.
I thought you were gonna ask him about the registration that got, spring registration that got postponed till tomorrow.
No, I know it got postponed till tomorrow.
Just as an
And camp
announcement, because it's-
registration is staying on March 7th, I believe, at 10 a.m. That has not changed.
That's correct.
Correct. Anyhow. Back to water and sewer. That's the really fun stuff. So,
Does he know that the 31st is the beginning of spring break?
maybe,
Is that,
I'll take it up with him in our
Just-
meeting.
just so you know, cause I just realized I won't be.
Okay. Alright,
so there is a draft of the letter and survey that EDR would like to send out. The idea is that when EDR takes and actually puts in the trunk line, the houses that are immediately on 120 on either side will there will be stubs created in the main the trunk line that will allow each of those homes to do a direct hookup. So in order for them to create their plans, they're asking those residents where their water and sewer hookups are currently, and that's what the purpose of the brochure is, the questionnaire and letter.
Jill, and I would make sure we encourage those residents that if they do want to take advantage of that they let us know and they do that work while the roads are open.
So the reason why they wanna know this is because they actually take and they create those stubs.
Yep.
And they install them beyond the pavement line, so
Okay,
that
good.
those homes can take and connect later.
Not having to rip up the road.
Exactly right, or whatever sidewalk might be there along the way. We actually did the same thing with Con Ed's gas main replacement when we replaced the sidewalk that went up to Grafton School a number of years ago.
So Jill, those homeowners have to do that privately, they have to
They would do the
engage
actual connection by themselves. It's a fraction of the cost and they would not there's no need for a local sewer district for them, so there is a.
But to identify the connection points.
Yes, so they
They
would
do-
literally, so they're just gonna take and basically draw a little diagram for the consultant, and then the consultant will come out and actually confirm it. But the
But how would they
connection-
know where to do that? Do they have to get someone to come in to do that for them?
No, they're gonna know in their basement where the water comes into their house and where the sewer
Oh,
goes there.
in their
and where-
house,
and
not
where
where the
septic
connection
goes.
would be outside,
No,
okay.
that's for EDR, so that's all they're asking is where does the septic pipe leave your home? Where does the water pipe come into your home? That's all they wanna know. And so they'll just do diagrams. So the question is whether or not the board has an issue with the letter coming from the town and or EDR. I was
Does-
hoping that maybe if it comes from the town, I was thinking that maybe more people would open it. And we'd be able to get the word out a little bit more.
I feel like that's gonna generate a lot of questions. Are we prepared for that?
So the questions are gonna go right now to town engineer Bob Seoli, but we were thinking that we would put EDR as a contact for them to take and be able to answer, because they're gonna be able to answer more questions than Bob.
I think that's a good compromise, comes from the town with a number to EDR.
Right,
Yeah.
to EDR, so I'm happy to sign it and I'll let them answer all the questions. This project is one of the projects that is scheduled, it has been pushed with like so many other projects that the county is doing. We were given dates of 2023, it's not gonna happen in 2023, it'll be coming down the pike, but at some point it's coming, like everything else. The projects are coming in far more expensive than anyone anticipated, and the county the way the county funds things, they encumber all the money before they start a project. And so this is coming in significantly higher, so they have to go back and ask for more money, so on top of everything else, it's another delay. But that's where we are with that,
And this was where there was an opportunity for sidewalk.
yes.
Yes.
This was an identified location.
Yes, and we're still
Working on
So
that.
we're working.
We're still working on that with the county. They don't like sidewalks to take and slow down their projects, but since it appears to be a little bit slower than they anticipated, we're hoping that we get a little flexibility there. We have not given up.
Alright, thank you. Okay, so our next topic is the Civic Engagement Advisory Board. So, this was, we are always looking for ways to increase civic engagement and to make sure that we can disseminate information to our residents, merchants, as quickly and as easily and as thoroughly as possible. So John Garfunkel came to me thinking that it would be great to actually have a civic engagement advisory board, and I am all in favor of this as a way to help to bring different stakeholders together to help get out any messages that we're trying to disseminate, and in terms of communication, and also, you know, to reach out to neighborhood groups, to recommend even ways that we can do that. So are there different, you know, information technology tools? What different methods are there to do that? So I sent to the board earlier today a proposed mission statement, as well as some goals and measures of success for this advisory board. John, I'm gonna ask you, do you have anything you wanna say? You do not have to, I told you you didn't have to.
Sure, I can. Should I just come up to the mic?
Sure.
I just wanna say before John
Sure.
says anything, John came to all of us over a year ago. So I know we've been talking about this quite a lot, and I think you went to all the board members. So I just wanna say that, just in all fairness to John, that he's been doing this with us for a long time.
Oh, yes,
So
yes.
thank you for being patient.
Yes, okay, thank you all for giving me the opportunity. You just presented a little. As I've been in, my name is John Garfunkel from Indian Hill. I've lived here a little over 2 years. I had the interesting situation of moving here in the midst of virtual life and pretty much encountering the town and everybody in virtual life, so it's good to be here physically. And learning about things when you move to a town. When I actually moved from out of state to New York City, it really didn't take very long to know what was happening in New York City, because what happens in New York City is kind of reported around the country. When you move from, say, New York City up to a small town in Westchester, you're like, okay, how does the government work? What's happening there? What are the policies? So, and we know a lot of people here are busy. They have other distractions, and there might be a feeling, some people might feel, well, you know, it's town government, maybe it's on autopilot, you know, things are pretty easy here. And some people, on the other hand, there's some cynicism out there about, well, you know, I can't get town to do this, or the governor says this, and you hear that and you say, well, how do we engage people differently? So yeah, we want to look at that. We want to reach out to people in technology, people in marketing and communications, people in civic boosters in real estate who know the town, and to be able to talk about this and say, are there ways to get people connected that we haven't been doing? And then if we succeed here, can we do a model for the county? Because I've had my questions for the county, and as helpful and as friendly as our county representatives are, they're sometimes harder to get things going. So you say, okay, can we look at things across the county? And I know some of the bigger cities, New York City especially, has a civic engagement board. Today, the President Obama's foundation, the Civic Nation, announced a new project for civic engagement, and they're working with big cities across the country where there's often a lot of issues for people to tackle. There's a lot of young people, so that's what we want to look at here. If we don't have the big issues, let's see what we can address, how we can look at different ways, how we can serve maybe as a in-house consultant for helping the advisory boards, because dialed into different advisory boards and learned really different ways of communicating and doing things. And I guess I'd add from my list of who we want, we also imagine having student members. This would have been completely wild idea when I was a student for somebody to say, hey, you can help work for City of White Plains in doing this. Didn't come to me at the time, but I was in a civics group. We did go to Albany as like a mock civic. So this would be something I would love to get high school students to be involved with too. So thank you very much for considering it, and I hope we can do great things this year for all of us.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
And yes, we love getting students involved. And it's another demographic, and the earlier they learn to be active citizens in their community, the better, I think. So one of the things that we, John and I worked on is this proposed mission statement. So the Civic Engagement Advisory Board will research and advise on helping town residents communicate and participate with town governance. It will look at new technologies and organizations, practices for helping residents connect and work effectively together on town volunteering efforts. And I would also encourage, and as this committee works together, to make sure that HOAs are included and various, cultural groups, to make sure that everybody has as much outreach as possible, because we know, for instance, seniors aren't always on their computer or on Facebook or Instagram, so we wanna make sure that outreach to like our senior community, for instance, may be different than the way we would give outreach to students or families. So I applaud this idea, and I think it's something that I would really like to see a new committee. So we're proposing up to 10 members on this committee. I think more than that, it gets, you can't function. But we do have, to your point, a lot of really intelligent and people who do this for a living. So to the extent we can get residents who do, technology, information systems, software, marketing involved, as well as making sure that residents and merchants and all our constituencies are included, I think that would be great. Anyone else have any thoughts?
I mean, I know you guys said that he's been talking with you on the town board for about a year, but I've also been talking with John as a citizen before I was on the board about the same thing as well. So I'm definitely in support of this committee, and I think it's a pretty good set of goals.
John, do you think 10 members is a good number, and that would include students?
Yes, yeah. Yes.
Cross section, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think that there's a minimum you need to get started?
Oh, it's a minimum. Certainly 3 or 4 is a minimum. And yeah, if more than 10 people are interested, we wanna figure out how to have like a elastic concept where if people aren't on the meetings, they can email in and say, yes, we could exchange ideas. I know certain committees in town, I'm on a group of like peripheral other people, like, we'll invite you, we'll remind you about this meeting coming up.
Sure, it doesn't mean other people can't participate.
Right.
And it's certainly something also we can revisit. As a committee is starting, you don't want it to be too large because it's unwieldy and you're trying to formulate how you're gonna do things. And it can get unwieldy with too many. However, later on, once it's more of a functioning committee, you may realize that you want more people. But it certainly doesn't preclude utilizing other individuals who maybe aren't on the committee but want to donate their time.
So I just, so when we call the committee the Civic Engagement Advisory Board, civic engagement is about residents participating in town government and activities. Whereas your goals are more of the committee increasing communication from the local government to the community, so it's sort of going the other way. And so are you hoping to increase civic engagement by bettering the communications and thereby, sort of in a more passive way, hoping to increase civic engagement? Because I see that the goals are really more focused towards communications, and communications mainly going one way.
Well, I mean,
Which is absolutely laudable, I just wanna be, clear about the goals.
I do see it as two-way street. When you communicate outwards, you wanna know that people are reading it, have reactions where they can react. I mean, just throwing this out, looking for an email address of a given committee, a given advisory board in town, particularly the advisory boards. There may be, sometimes they're hard to find, just that simple aspect. So making sure, and at least also I see this group as advisory. Asking questions, providing answers, sending them to you, the board, and saying, this is what we found out, this is,
I guess what I'm getting at is it seems more like a communications committee, looking at the goals, which would then result in engagement, but it seems like the goals are all focused on communication, such as survey software, best practices among advisory boards, survey the town on communications, participation, volunteering. So again, it's a survey.
But Vicky,
Website and
engagement isn't
social
always
media.
active, so to me,
No, I know, let me just finish, let me just
engagement
finish what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is that it sounds to me, and this is all really laudable, I'm not, criticizing at all. I just wanna be clear about what it is. It sounds like these are goals that are really geared towards a communications committee. So I just wanna flesh that out.
So to me, engagement is not necessarily active, it can be, but it's not always. To the extent we communicate to our residents so they feel engaged in our community and then willing to potentially dedicate their time, but also even just to be aware of what we're doing so that if, let's say we had a public hearing tonight, if they were unaware of it, they're not going to be engaged. But if they are, then they may want to engage in one or many things that we are doing, either through active participation or even just speaking with each other and just being engaged, lowercase e, in the community. So to me, that's where the name comes from. I think it's more than just communication. I think it's trying to foster engagement of our residents in the government of our town. So I
Right, but when
actually
you
think it is
say-
more than just communication.
Sure, but when you say civic engagement, that is sort of a term of art, right? So that's what we're calling the committee, which is fine.
Yeah.
But the goals are geared towards communication. And they're both okay, I just want us to be clear about the mission. Because civic engagement does mean something. We talk about that often in terms of participation.
right. I would like to see participation. I mean, the part of I came up with the name looking at a lot of different efforts, and it helps that if you look up civic engagement, you find existing cities have existing boards with that name. That's what you use in New York City. And reading the article just today about what Obama's foundation is doing, they use the word civic engagement in their materials. So it's important to have an engaging name.
No, I think it's all very laudable, and maybe I'm being picky about the meaning of civic engagement, but it does mean participation. But I think that it's a great idea, and I think it could lead to very good things.
Vicky, for what it's worth, I think that improving communication enables that engagement that you're looking for.
It does, yes.
So I'm actually really comfortable with the name and the mission. I feel like they're compatible.
I agree, as am I. Alright, great. So then our next steps would be, Ed, can you draft a resolution?
Sure.
To form this board, and then at our next public meeting, I'm hoping we'll be able to pass this and then advertise for engagement in joining this board.
Great.
Alright, and thank you for all of your help and your ideas and your passion for this. Appreciate it, John. Alright, so now we're moving on just to some administrative items to close out the work session.
Okay, so we've got our payment of claims and adoption of our monthly reports and minutes. So we've got purchase and installation of highway maintenance materials. This is just stuff that Bart needs to just keep the town running. We've got a number of capital projects and budgets. The 2023 Performing Arts, this is for the roof replacement project, we're gonna go out to bid on that shortly. The next is establishment of our infamous Getney Park retaining wall and staircase. We've also got one on Byron Lake Road, which is a FEMA project. That means that we're seeking funds through FEMA. This is damage from, what was the last storm? Ida?
Isaias.
Was it Isaias that was this one, or Ida?
The pedestrian bridge was definitely Isaias.
Oh,
I'm
it's
not sure.
maybe
I
Isaias
think it
as
was the
well.
same thing.
Yeah, Isaias, thank you, Rob. Shether Road stabilization, which is a combination of FEMA, also also damage caused by Isaias and also east of Hudson because of where it is. And last but not least is the 120 pedestrian bridge, which again, we're looking for reimbursement for FEMA for to be able to proceed. So that's been inspected and it's back in operation. Sorry, we had that little kerfuffle the other day, but all good. Authorization to use town property, the Girl Scouts are ready for cookie sales, must be spring right around the corner. The Chapel Rotary Club is looking for permission to use our community parking lot to do a drive-in movie this summer. We've got a weekend in May planned out for that. The next is authorization for a perma conference. Rob, so is this one or two people? So two?
Yeah, we really didn't discuss that, so
Okay, so you wanna hold that?
yeah.
Okay, well, let's do the 14th. Okay. Next is authorization to hire Barton and LaJudas to apply for fiscal year 24 congressionally directed spending. This was a late addition for the board. Barton and LaJudas approached us about a funding opportunity through Senator Schumer's congressional monies.
For the chaplain.
For the chaplain. We can apply for 80% of the chaplain. So we'll get it or not, but we are gonna try. It's $3,500. It has a very short turnaround. It's due by March 6th. So they're ready to jump right on it. They've already helped us with grants for this project before, so they're ready to go. So really hope the board sees fit to approve that. Next is authorization to approve the purchase of the camera system for Town Hall, the train station, and also under the underpass. This is actually grant monies from Assemblyman Burdick. We've gotten the invoices already from Simon Securities, and we're ready to go on that. And last but not least is the 120 culvert replacement. We had a meeting quite a while ago with representatives from New York State DOT who informed us that there is a culvert under 120 right by Kip Street. It's where that significant dip in the road was that they filled in, but that culvert needs to be replaced. They were supposed to start as of March. They're waiting on Con Ed to do infrastructure work. Con Ed has not shown up yet. The project is once again getting pushed. When they had originally approached us, we said to them, wouldn't it be great if you could do it over the summer when everybody's out of town and it would be the least inconvenience for commuters and school bus traffic? And they said, oh, no, we're gonna be gone well before the summer. P.S. Fast forward, they came back to us. Guess what? They're gonna come back and do it over the summer. They're proposing a 6-week closure of 120. They're actually at Kip Street. There is a detour that can come around Douglas to Kip.
Yeah, Douglas to Kip for local traffic.
For local traffic only. There is a truck detour, DOT will assign that it's a ways out.
It's really far.
It's really far, but this is not our issue, this is DOT's infinite wisdom in their scheduling. So we did have a meeting, I told them I would propose it to the board and get your feedback. The chief of police was there, Bart was there, Bob Cioli was there. Let me see, who else?
Now, Jill,
Yes.
just along with that, if we don't agree to close it for 6 weeks, it's gonna take a lot longer.
It's gonna take 3 months and they will do it through the summer, through September and into October. And
No.
we really don't want that.
And it won't be closed, but it would be,
It will
you
be
know,
single
one
lane
lane over
traffic.
there and it will take quite a long time.
During the closure, they have also assured us that they will maintain safe pedestrian passage. we have given them literally a drop dead date of August 18th. It's gonna be July 5th through August 18th. Their hours are we've asked them preferred hours to be 8 to 6, Monday through Friday, and 9 to 4 on Saturday. They will only do Saturday if they are up against a deadline and they can't make it. I've told them if they go one day, they have a 6 p.m. deadline on August 18th. If it's 6:01, they need to take and bring in the traffic. There's all sorts of things they need to do that's gonna cost them more money than working on Saturdays. We
It would
appreciate
be really bad if they're late and you run into the
It would be
school year with
yes,
school buses.
yes.
So if the board is willing to entertain this option, I will meet again with Seth Corwin from the bus company and the first responders, and we'll go through the detours with them. They were part of the original conversation when we had figured out that we were gonna have a single lane of traffic, and there was gonna be a temporary light and transponders to allow the first responders to affect the light and be able to get through in case of an emergency.
So to me, Jill, I think this is the best. I hate to close a road, but I think it's a lot better to close a road in July and August over the summer than to keep it open with one-way traffic and school buses and everything else. My one concern though is the first responders. So when we had our first meeting, I know they were concerned, but there was the thought that they would have a transponder that would allow a light to turn green if they needed to get through.
Right.
Here, it's gonna add more time to take a detour, so that's my only concern is to make sure that they're comfortable with this.
Yeah, if this is something that the board would seriously consider, then I'll broach the subject with the first responders, but I wanted to make sure that this is something that the board was comfortable with before I went any further. But I'll definitely, invite them to the table, we'll have a conversation again with the contractor and DOT. We've done this before, so we'll do it again. Okay, I'll keep you posted, thank you.
So does anyone have thoughts? I think this is the right
No, I think that
way
that's
to go.
Yeah, I agree.
the lesser of two
Two evils.
Yeah,
That's the perfect way to put it, unfortunately, there's a lot of work that needs to be, if you ignore the infrastructure long enough, this is what happens.
Just wanna make sure we really communicate this greatly and make sure everyone knows and is aware, and the detour, talk to the people on Kip Street,
Oh my gosh,
tell
of
them
course.
this is gonna
There's
happen.
also, they originally wanted to do some staging on Kip Street, we said absolutely not, there cannot be any cars parked on Kip Street at all, that's gotta be left clear. Obviously, we'll be using our electronic signboard by Bell School to make sure that everybody knows about that this is coming. We understand that there's gonna be buses for camps, so they're gonna be inconvenienced, and the kids are gonna be on the bus a little bit longer, and we're terribly sorry about that, but
just anticipating a potential concern from Kip Street residents is the speed of traffic that might be going through. Is there anything we can do proactively?
I am confident that the police will be out there in force on a regular basis, and monitoring traffic and making sure traffic stays slow. These are residential streets, they really, and also the prohibition and limitation of only allowing local traffic, so you're not going to get trucks whipping through there.
Right.
You should not be getting trucks whipping through.
Right, unless they're delivering to Kip Street.
I just know traffic moves pretty quickly along there already, so.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Alright,
Does anyone have any questions about anything that we went through? Otherwise, we can move on to the town board meeting. I think that's all we had for work session.
alright, so since we already, do we need to close this and reopen
There
it?
should be a motion to close the work session
Okay.
and reopen the
Can I have a
public
motion?
meeting.
Yes.
All you need is a so moved.
Close the work
That's it, right?
session and reopen the public meeting. Can I have a so moved?
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alright, welcome back to our town board meeting of February 28th. We are going to start with any announcements, Jill, any?
No, I'll put them in the
Okay,
Is this a record?
No.
No, it's not?
in terms of timing?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Not even
we
close.
started at
Not even
5
close.
That's
tonight.
true.
Don't tell me
Did
that.
Yeah,
start
so
early.
we're 5 hours, we're getting there.
That's why we started so early, cause I knew this was gonna be late. All right, anything in my supervisor's report, it'll keep, you'll read it tomorrow. I'm sure you're all waiting in anticipation. Community corner, I just wanted to wish a very happy birthday to Vinny Milazzo of Village Market. It's his birthday. Yes, so a happy birthday from
Birthday,
our
Vinny.
town, and everyone should go buy him cake from his market. All right, that's about it for that. Any public comment or new business?
Yeah, one hand raised online.
Okay, we'll take that one first. Nicole, is it Nicole?
Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. And thank you for putting in such a long night tonight. I actually, tried to raise my hand during the work session, and, you did all, vote on and approve the exemption for the volunteer firefighters and ambulance corps, and that's just what I had wanted to talk about, to encourage you to do that, so thank you very much for doing it, voting on it.
Our pleasure, it's the right thing to do. Thanks, Nicole. Was that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, perfect. Have a great night. Thanks for sticking with us. Any other public comment from anyone here? Okay, any other hands online? All right, so given that we already had our public hearing, we are gonna move to our resolutions and our consent agenda items. Just everyone remember on the resolutions, we're not doing number 8 tonight. All right, Holly, do you wanna start with the consent agenda?
Sure.
Christina, just note that the perma item came off the consent agenda.
Yes,
Wait, we're not doing number?
so we should note that, is that in here in the consent agenda?
It is.
Okay, we should note that the authorization to amend to attend the perma conference is coming off.
Right, is that the one that you were intending to take off?
Is there another?
No, I'm sorry, number 9.
Oh,
Yeah,
number,
that's what I'm
okay,
saying.
alright, yeah. Yes, yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, number 9 is.
Number 9,
Number
yes.
9 is coming off, not number 8.
Yes.
And 11 we
Sorry,
already
number
did,
9.
right?
Yes,
Right, yeah, sorry, that
so if you
the
just
numbers
wanna
are
read the
throwing me off my
consent
stuff.
agenda.
Okay, great, thank you guys.
I move to adopt the consent agenda. Can I just say
As indicated.
as indicated in the agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Holly, the
Finish the
next
page.
one.
Yeah, sorry. I move to approve the payment of claims in the amount of $553,401.45. 2022 expenditures totaling $76,039.06, and 2023 expenditures totaling $477,362.39 listed on the summary, pre-check, writing report, and detail voucher detail reports, all dated February 24th, 2023. Checks will be issued and mailed to each claimant listed on Wednesday, March 1st, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Want me to take the
I
second?
can keep going. I move to authorize the promotion of Frank Rocco from the position of police sergeant to police lieutenant within the Newcastle Police Department at the annual salary in the agenda.
Now you have to say the
Oh,
salary.
$150,573 effective March 1st, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So many numbers.
Congratulations, Lieutenant Rocco.
Yes, very well deserved.
I move to authorize the hiring of Bridget Riley and Stephen Samuel for the position of 4th grade police officers within the Newcastle Police Department, annual salary of $75,573, effective April 3rd, 2023, or the date that Westchester County approves the resignation/reinstatement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome. And I move to authorize promotion of Kyle Brown and Jeffrey Ganella Jr. from the position of laborer to motor equipment operator within the Department of Public Works Highway Unit at the annual salary of $70,531.45, Group 7, Step 3, effective March 20th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Ally?
I move to authorize the posting and hiring for 2 grade 2 water maintenance workers at the annual salary ranging from $57,407.93 through $78,611.49, and 1 grade 1 water maintenance worker at the annual salary ranging from $65,873.67 to $90,233.63.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize the hiring of Alyssa Kuhn to the position of Youth Coalition Coordinator for Newcastle United for Youth Coalition at the rate of $30 an hour for a guaranteed minimum of 15 hours per week, not to exceed 20 hours without prior approval from the steering committee effective January 1st, 2023.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to adopt the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the receiver of taxes to approve the waiver of the 2023 school tax penalty for the second half for parcel SBL 81-7-3-2 for the total amount of $1,462.11.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. I'll read this last one. I move to adopt the resolution that the town board hereby authorizes the receiver of taxes to approve the waiver of the 2023 school tax penalty for the second half for parcel SBL 80-13-2-18 for the total amount of $431.61.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to adopt the following resolution. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby appoints and reappoints members to the Millwood West End Advisory Board effective March 1st, 2023, with the term so indicated as stated in the agenda.
So can you read their names? Cause I
Sure.
think it's important for the
Okay,
committee.
Yes. Nicole Richer will be the chairperson for 3 years. Kalyani Narasimha for 2 years. Leslie Smith, 2 years. Michael Weinberg, 3 years. Celine Veras, 2 years. Jigrit Patel, 1 year. David Valdez, 3 years. Sydney Feinhersh, 1 year. And be it further resolved that the total membership of the Millwood West End Advisory Board shall henceforth consist of up to 8 members. And be it further resolved that the town board thanks all the members of the Millwood West End Advisory Board for their service.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to adopt the local law amending chapter 122.
We've already done that.
Yeah, we did that one.
So now are we,
Okay, yes.
No, yeah,
do you want me to read that?
sure.
Okay. I move to adopt the resolution in objection to Governor Hochul's New York Housing Compact proposal. Whereas the creation of additional housing, including affordable housing, is a shared and laudable goal, and whereas Governor Hochul's fiscal year 2024 executive budget included draft legislation known as the New York Housing Compact, and should I the whole thing? What do you
I feel like it's
prefer?
important.
Okay, sure.
If you're
And
okay.
I'm okay, I just wanted to make sure that's
It's real. You can just review it.
okay. Town board adopts the resolution that the town of Newcastle implores the governor and or New York State legislature to remove the housing compact proposal from the New York State fiscal year 2024 budget. And instead utilize the legislative process and engage local municipal governments in dialogue to address our common goals, and be it further resolved that the town of Newcastle adamantly opposes the governor's proposed housing compact legislation and urges the state legislature to preserve and protect municipal home rule and local zoning powers.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and can we also just have a resolution ratifying the open letter to Governor Hochul that was signed yesterday?
I move to ratify the open letter to Governor Hochul regarding the New York Housing Compact that was signed by Supervisor Katz yesterday.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Okay.
All right, can we entertain a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.